Have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, we're not the ones running this planet? That there is an invisible empire, an ancient, sprawling civilization that dictates our health, our food, our entire environment, and for most of human history, we didn't even know it was there? So let's just ask the question straight up. What if the most powerful, the most influential life forms on Earth were completely invisible? What if they were everywhere, from the bottom of the ocean to the tops of mountains, and yeah, even inside of us right now?
Well, it does. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden reality.
All right, so where do we even begin with something so huge yet so small? Let's start with the basics. Let's define the science that actually studies this world we can't see, microbiology.
So what is it really? Simply put, microbiology is the study of life that's too tiny to be seen without a microscope. And we're not just talking about one kind of thing here. It's this huge, diverse collection of life. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, you name it. They are the original tenants of planet Earth, and their world is, well, it's just unbelievably complex and dynamic.
Now this right here, this busts the single biggest myth about microbes. We've all been trained to think of them as germs, right? These nasty things that are out to get us. But look at the actual numbers. A whopping 87% are totally harmless. Only a tiny, tiny fraction, just 3%, are the ones that actually make us sick. The key takeaway here? The bad guys get all the headlines, but they are massively outnumbered.
Okay, so if this invisible world is all around us all the time, how did we finally discover it? Well, it was this incredible journey that took centuries, kind of like discovering a whole new continent that was right under our noses the entire time.
The story really kicks off with the invention of the microscope, way back around 1600. Fast forward a few decades, and you've got Robert Hooke looking at a piece of cork and seeing these tiny box-like structures he called cells. But the real wow moment, that came in 1676, thanks to a Dutch cloth merchant named Antonie van Leeuwenhoek. This guy wasn't a scientist, but he was a genius at grinding lenses, and what he saw changed everything.
He called them his wee animalcules, his tiny animals. Can you just imagine? In a single drop of pond water, he found an entire universe, teeming with life. He was the first human in history to see these little creatures, very prettily a-moving. It was the dawn of a whole new science.
But you know, seeing these microbes was one thing. Figuring out what they did, that was a whole other battle. And it led to one of the biggest scientific showdowns in history. The fight to prove that these tiny organisms were the real cause of disease.
For centuries, people believed in something called spontaneous generation, the idea that life could just, poof, appear out of nowhere, like maggots from rotting meat. It sounds crazy to us now, but that was the leading theory. On the other side, you had this radical new idea called germ theory, which said, no, it's these invisible microbes that cause stuff to rot and make people sick. It was a total clash of worldviews.
And then came the legend, Louis Pasteur. He delivered a knockout punch in 1857. He proved that tiny yeast cells were making grape juice turn into wine and that other microbes were what made it go sour. His solution? So simple, but so revolutionary. Just heat it up to kill the bad microbes. We still call it pasteurization today, and we use it all the time.
And this is where the theory literally started saving lives. A surgeon named Joseph Lister had this brilliant idea. He thought, hey, if germs make wine go bad, maybe they're also what's causing surgical wounds to get infected. So he started sterilizing his tools and using antiseptics. The results were astounding. Surgery became infinitely safer almost overnight.
The final, definitive proof, the checkmate, came from a German doctor, Robert Koch. He came up with a clear, scientific recipe, a checklist we now call Koch's postulates. It's this brilliant four-step process that lets you prove without a doubt that one specific microbe causes one specific disease. This was the blueprint, the very foundation of modern medical microbiology.
But here's the thing. The story of microbes isn't just about disease. The germ story was right, but it only told one side of the story. As we learned more, we started to realize that most of our microscopic neighbors aren't foes at all. They're actually our essential allies.
I mean, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? When you put the harmful impacts on a scale next to the beneficial ones, it's not even a contest. The good that microorganisms do for our planet and for us, it just completely dwarfs the bad. So what do they actually do for us? Well, how about this? They gave us antibiotics, our most powerful weapon against bacterial diseases. They are the engines of fermentation that give us cheese, yogurt, bread, and wine. In agriculture, they're like nature's own fertilizer. And in the environment,
They are the planet's master recyclers, keeping the essential nutrients for all life in motion. In fact, tiny microbes in the ocean produce at least half of the oxygen you and I are breathing right now.
So we know they're important, but let's try to wrap our heads around their sheer, mind-boggling variety. The microbial world isn't just one thing. It's a universe of what feels like endless diversity.
Seriously, just think of the most extreme place you can imagine on Earth. A boiling volcanic vent, the frozen ice of the Arctic, the crushing pressure at the bottom of the sea. Microbes are there. They figured out how to live in every single nook and cranny of this planet, thriving in conditions that would kill us in an instant.
How on earth do they do it? Well, this table gives us a little peek at their secret. It's all about their metabolic strategies, the different ways they get energy and build their bodies. Some use light, like plants. Others literally eat rocks and chemicals like iron or sulfur. This incredible flexibility is the key to their global success. Us humans, we're struck with just one of these strategies.
And the variety is it's awesome in the true sense of the word. Take just one group, the proteobacteria. They're named after Proteus, a Greek sea god who could change his shape into anything he wanted. And that's the perfect name because this group includes everything from the bacteria that cause cholera to the microbes that help plants grow. They're the ultimate biological shapeshifters.
You know, we've mapped the stars, we've explored the deep oceans, but the honest truth is we have barely scratched the surface of this microbial world. Scientists think we've only identified less than 1% of all the microbial species out there, which leaves us with this huge, tantalizing question. In a world we're only just beginning to truly see, what amazing discoveries, what new medicines, what new answers to life's biggest questions are still waiting for us out there in the invisible universe?